everyone. So my mission on this channel and in my business is to help women recover from the effects of trauma by gently and joyfully rewiring their brains and nervous systems to feel safe, balanced, and relaxed. Over the course of evolution, our brains have evolved what's known as the negativity bias. And what that means is our brains are like Velcro for what's negative or stressful or worrisome in our lives, and like Teflon for anything positive or joyful or anything that might put us at ease. Intuitively, you can understand that this was probably beneficial for our early ancestors to always be on the lookout for potential dangers. You were more likely to survive if you gave that stick a wide berth, assuming it was a snake, rather than stepping over the snake thinking it was a stick. Living back in those dangerous times, it didn't allow for much pursuit of peace and happiness, but it did help the human race survive. Fast forward to today. Even though the news might have you believe otherwise, we are actually living in the safest time in human history. But many of our brains have not got that memo. They haven't caught up. We have to be very intentional about rewiring our brains away from its negativity bias in order to have that relaxed and happy life that we want. And if you've had trauma, that negativity bias can be switched on full throttle 24/7. The unconscious part of our brain that's very concerned with our survival is pretty sure we're still living in those really dangerous times where some life-threatening danger lurks around every corner. And this can manifest itself as chronic stress or worry or overwhelm or even burnout when the system just can't take it anymore. So as I said earlier, if we want to build new pathways in our brain away from the deep grooves of stress or hypervigilance, we have to be really intentional about where we put our focus. In pretty much every moment of your life, if you get curious, you can find aspects of your experience that are pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral. However, in a brain that's had trauma, it's often going to be scanning for what's wrong or what could go wrong and completely ignoring the good in the moment. And again, this is an evolutionary thing. There's nothing wrong with you or your brain. But the good news is that with practice, you can easily overcome this and reorient your brain to safety, relaxation, and happiness. So this week's gentle practice is to start checking in a handful of times per day and find something pleasant. It doesn't have to be a big fireworks kind of thing. Most of the time it probably won't be. But once you have something, I want you to let your attention rest on it. With our brains being like Teflon for the good, they really have no interest in continuing to focus on something positive. They need to get back to scanning for the negative. So with intention, I want you to keep bringing your mind back to what's pleasant. Not long, 15 or 20 seconds is perfect. And to help keep your mind focused, you can see if you can find several positive things about a moment. Or you can imagine that you could turn up the intensity or the volume of the pleasantness. See if you can feel it more deeply. Imagine that every cell of your body could be bathed in this positive feeling. And then notice how that feels in the body. I want to give you an example from my day. So I woke up a little bit before my alarm and I called in my cat to come have a little snuggle with me. He likes to kind of like get under the covers and like be my little spoon. And instead of kind of glossing over this, thinking about what I had to do for my day, or worse yet, turning on my phone, I decided to be with what was pleasant in this experience. And I tuned in and I noticed how soft and warm he felt. I could feel the little vibrations of his purr on my chest, and I just tuned into the sense of how cozy and warm I felt. And then I started thinking about how much I appreciate him and love him, and I just really was basking in those feelings. And as I was doing that, I was imagining just turning up the volume, turning up the intensity, and I just stayed with that as long as I could. So then when my alarm went off, I was able to carry these positive feelings with me into my day. And that's it. Easy, gentle, simple, and enjoyable. And with practice, you'll start noticing that your brain naturally starts being drawn to and seeking out the positive, both in your experience and in your life, rather than always defaulting to what's stressful or negative. So just a little troubleshooting. If you're finding your brain is really resistant to this exercise, I've got a couple of tips for you. Probably in the beginning, your brain might get really, really loud about trying to drown out your efforts to look at what's positive. This part of your brain really, really thinks it is saving your life by keeping you focused on the negative and always scanning for things that could go wrong. So you can thank this part of your brain. Let what it wants you to worry about just sort of fall to the background or fall to the side as you take the flashlight of your awareness and put it back on what's positive. You're not going to get rid of this thing that it's trying to get you to worry about, so don't even try. But just, again, take your attention back off that and back onto something positive. And you may need to work a little harder at this in the beginning, but just like building a muscle or learning a new skill, it gets so much easier with practice. And one more tip, if your brain is really struggling to find something positive, say you're in a lot of pain or something really bad is going on with your life, I want you to do the same exercise, but instead of tuning into something positive, I want you to tune into something neutral. So you can tune into a sight or a sound or a place in your body that feels neither pleasant nor unpleasant, and practice with working with the neutral for a while until looking for what pleasant starts feeling more accessible for you. And now, this rewiring process, it takes time. These old pathways in your brain, they did not form overnight, and it's quite possible they've been there since childhood. So be patient and kind to yourself if you're catching your brain sort of falling back into its old patterns of stress and worry. You can let that be a cue and an opportunity to redirect your brain to something positive in that moment. And I want you to start thinking of yourself as a bit of a treasure hunter, always on the lookout for these little treasures of positive and pleasant in your life. And over time, these new pathways are going to grow stronger, and you're going to start having your brain naturally default towards being more happier and having a positive outlook, and your chronic stress and worry will disappear. Okay, that's it for now. I'll see you next time.